Fall Sports Media Day and switch gears to cross country. We are joined by head cross country coach Mark Wetmore. Coach, if you could just open up with a general statement about the upcoming season, then we'll open it up to questions from the audience.
Linda asks me annually if I have athletes to bring with me because no doubt after 25 years you're tired of my answers. But unlike the other fall sports, we haven't started yet and our athletes aren't required to be here. And so they're all off on their last adventure to Moab or Mazatlan or wherever. And I won't see them for another 10 days. So I'm sorry, once again, it's only me.
You could talk about your season as an opening statement.
Our season. Well, on the 14th of August, they will regather from their various adventures and we'll resume our work towards the conference and national championships for men's and women's cross country. The teams are historically pretty good. These teams can, again, be pretty good, depending on how they show up in 10 days and what work we get done. Anyway, I hesitate to make predictions because our sport is a sport where things can go wrong fast, and we're not allowed by the NCAA to have a third string and a fourth string and a fifth string and a sixth string. So if something goes wrong with your first string, everything comes undone. All right, who has a question? Something new and exciting.
Well, I don't know how exciting it'll be, but Danny Jones, I know she redshirted in the outdoor season this spring. I don't know if she was injured, but she went on to have the big showing at Prefontaine, obviously. Is she good to go this fall, and what do you expect out of her this season?
Danny was not hurt during the outdoor season, but was during the indoor season, and so missed quite a bit of preparation, which we would have preferred to have had to have a maximal outdoors. So we decided to redshirt her, get her 100% healthy, get the work in the bank, so to speak, and race late, unattached, redshirted. But as you saw, by late May and June, she was completely healthy and running well. She's been healthy since. She's, I presume, had a good summer. We're not allowed to conduct practices with them in the summer, as you know, but we send out encouraging or threatening documents periodically. And she has been around and checking in, and I think she's in good shape, and she'll be a big contributor for her this fall.
Mark, have you guys ever run 3 meets on the same course in one season?
Good question, good observation. This year, the NCAA championships are to be held at the University of Wisconsin. They have a wonderful purpose-built cross-country only race course. We have only been there with some emerging varsity people ever, and that was once a year ago. So we're taking advantage of the opportunity to visit there twice this year in late September and middle October, with the hope that we might learn more about that race course and should we advance to the NCAA, be a little more comfortable there. But in answer to your question, I don't think so. I don't think we've ever raced 3 times on any one course.
Coach, back to Danny Jones for a moment. You said you don't want to predict or speculate, but her resume is pretty impressive, obviously, and she's obviously got a very bright future. You've had world-class runners that have come through here. Does she have some of the same characteristics as some of the great ones who have preceded her?
I'm superstitious, and so I'll say no, none, not much chance of really being any good. Danny has good leg speed. She has good aerobic capacity. She seems to have good anaerobic capacity. She has the will to train. I'm probably cursing myself and Danny, but she's got what the other big stars here have had. Now she needs the one component that's unpredictable, and that is luck. Staying healthy and having no big interruptions.
Mark, can you talk a little bit about the men's team? I mean, you have 3 returning All-Americans and then a couple others that return, but several new faces.
Well, if the opposite of deep is shallow, our men's team is shallow this year. We have 4 returning, proven, very good runners. We will need someone to emerge from the rest of the group as an NCAA contributor at that level. A lot of hard-working people, and sometimes it takes a year or two, so I don't know who will fill that 5th and 6th and 7th spot to make a good full team. We have 4/5 of an excellent team with Klecker and Dressel and Lalo Herrera and Ryan Forsythe. But Ethan Gonzalez, Riley Friedman, Paxton Smith, or maybe some of the freshmen coming in are going to have to come on fast. If 1 or 2 or 3 does and the other 4 stay solid all year, we'll be a very good team. Just no room for error.
And conversely, could you talk a little bit about the women's team? I mean, obviously, we've talked a little bit about Danny Jones, but there are several other members of the team as well.
The women's team is not as shallow, but it's not as deep as it has been in the past, where we probably had varsity level contributors as deep as 12th on the team. Danny's back. She's very strong. She'll certainly be stronger than a year ago if we make no mistakes. Sage Hurd is very good. McKenna Morley's very good. Maddie Borman, who was second in the NCAA steeplechase 2 years ago and hurt this year, she returns. Tabor Scholl, Colorado girl from up in Kremling, she returns. And then quite a few people battling for those remaining 3 or 4 spots. The women's team should be very good and has a little more room for error.
One for me, Coach. Just
Who
talk
do
about
you
the
write?
schedule.
Excuse me.
There's
Who do you write for? Oh,
the Platitudes Gazette. Could you talk about why there's no more Rocky Mountain Shootout, but also looking at the back end of the schedule? Seems like when we started, there was like 11 days between the regional and the championships. Now it looks like it's down to 8. Is that what you prefer? And it seems like the bulk of the season is almost within 1 month now.
a good observation. About 3 years ago, the NCAA moved the regionals and the national championships 6 days closer together. They used to be 13, now they're 8. Let's see, 13 minus 8, that's 6, yeah. Yeah, so we run the regionals now on a Friday, and 8 days later we run the nationals. It used to be an extra week in there. I don't love it. Those of you who have ever made the mistake of running a 10K, imagine if you had to do it as hard as you could for the glory of Acme College and then do it all again 8 days later and try to do it as well or better. It's not optimal, but the NCAA doesn't ask the athletes or the coaches, so it is what it is. You're right, then, that the Pac-12, the regionals, and the NCAA all happen in less than a month. 3 important, pressurized, tiring races happen in less than a month. So someday, maybe we'll change it, but that's what we have now. The Rocky Mountain Shootout, we had for 30-something years, Linda, 32, 3 years. But again, due to the modern NCAA qualification system, the system that gets teams to the NCAA finals, smaller meets such as that, meets with 4 or 5 Division I teams, are being pushed out. They're just discouraged by the system. I will go into the details, and you can decide how detailed your readers will be interested. To advance to the NCAA final, everybody in the country runs at one of 9 NCAA regional championships 8 days before. The top 2 from each of those 9 regions advance, and then there are some more who are advanced based on a points scoring system throughout the year, who you beat from other regions during the course of the season, or what teams from other regions beat you, how they did at their region. It's quite complicated, and I'm not sure I even understand it completely. But the bottom line is, we can't afford to stay here on October 1st and race against Division II and Division III teams and the B team from CSU, and maybe Wyoming comes down with their varsity, but maybe not, while other teams are across the country racing dozens of Division I teams from other regions. We can't afford to do that anymore. Should we finish third, the men, for example, in our mountain region, which has the defending NCAA championships NAU and the defending third-place team BYU, were we to finish anything other than first or second, then the points matter, and having run the Rocky Mountain Shootout could harm us. So we had to go elsewhere. Then the question becomes, do we host the Rocky Mountain Shootout for our guests and for our non-varsity members? And the preparation of the South Campus is too much work for the facilities management guys to run a race for other teams and not for us. So long answer, but I'm sad to see it go, but it's okay. I'm sure there were people that were sad to see the Telegraph go.
Outstanding. Mark, with your program, the level that you compete at every year, I mean, competing for a Big 12 or a Pac-12 championship, NCAA championship, and playing, at that level year to year out, how do you as a coach kind of fight human nature for a letdown with a team?
Well, the students are different every year and completely different every 4 years. So I think the letdown would have to come from me and or Coach Burrows, our level of commitment, our level of excitement. And I think there's a pretty good chance that'll happen in another 30 or 40 years. But right now, I'm excited about the new people coming in. Our men didn't have a great year. We had an important injury, and then we had a guy have a bad day, and we were not deep, as I said, and we got 8th, and that's not acceptable to me, and it's not acceptable to our veteran men. It's not acceptable to Coach Burrows. So we're energized by trying to solve the problem of having been 8th last year at the NCAA and lost the conference championship. But I reserve the right to take up golf.
Mark, wondering if Jenny Simpson's going to be back as a volunteer assistant, and what has she, I guess, meant for the athletes to have someone that accomplished, you kind of be a sounding board and sometimes even work out with?
Last I knew, she intended to be back. Her primary function here is to be a real live person in their presence who's that good. Another program will see a Jenny on television, but they don't have her to stand next to live and see that it's a real live person, not that dissimilar from them. And so that level of accomplishment and that level of workload is not incomprehensible to the Dannys and the Sages and to the Joe Kleckers and the Johnny Dressels and the Lalo Herreras. They see a real live person who does that level of work and competes in that level of pressure and expectation, and they know it's a real live person, not a character in a video game. So that's the main thing that she does for us, is be alive.
And how does she do that? Does she do that well, be alive?
She's with them. She asks them how they're doing. They see her when she has a bad day. They see her a lot of good days. They see her on television with the beam of expectation on her in an Olympics or a World Championship. And then on Monday, she's back at practice. So it makes it a lot more realistic and attainable.
Any more questions for Coach? All right. Thank you, Coach, and good luck.
Thank you.